of you who have traveled to Pune, you've had a pleasant journey today because we're going to have an exciting day ahead. I'm honored to actually moderate this session on a very relevant topic of today, leadership and change management. Strategies for effective leadership in times of transformation. So we have an esteemed panelist here, and Priya has just introduced them, so I'm not going to spend time to introduce them again. We'll dive straight into the topic. It is believed that effective leadership during times of significant transformation involves the ability to inspire and motivate others towards a common goal, even in the face of uncertainty and complexity. Where leaders are required to demonstrate strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and a willingness to embrace change as an opportunity for growth and innovation. Here, Madhusudan, I think you can offer some valuable insights. Capita's approach, centered around the pillars of simplification, purpose, technology, and future leader development, exemplifies how an organization's approach has evolved to a strategic framework for transformation. So, Madhusudan, how would you define effective leadership during times of significant transformation?
Transformation. What transformation means? You are moving from A to B and you will never come back to it. Let's take an example. Caterpillar. Butterfly cannot become a caterpillar. That's the transformation. Effective leadership during transformation means for a leader to be leader can't be citizen. The three key facets of this is what is the scale of it, you have multiple stakeholders to manage. Who are your stakeholders? What is the scale of this change? Based on the size of your organization and the business units that are involved in, you would understand the scope. The third is speed. Is your transformation happening over a period of 2 years, 1 year, 6 months? Because it unfolds in front of you pretty quickly. The final, though I said 3, the one key is what is the purpose? Why you are doing the transformation? Why it is required to do? That's the critical aspect of transformation. Once you have these things set at a leadership level, the second thing comes with how do you communicate, create a purpose around it.
Absolutely.
This is the purpose why we are doing it. It's not that some consultants joined you and say that because I saw the data and APC or your good areas, DEF or your bad areas, these are the areas you need to focus and to do transformation. That's not how it works. You need to believe in the transformation. And now if you just look at the current theme, tech, trust and talent, technology as a whole with talent. I come from a technology organization. I've seen evolution of technology for the last 30 years. The rapid change we are having. Sorry.
Sorry, but your voice is not.
Maybe hold the mic closer to you. Yeah, just closer to you.
I was saying that evolution of technology is more for last 4 years and more so in last 1 year. I think our chief guest mentioned about the rapid evolution of technology. But how do you embrace that technology in your transformation journey? And today I believe whether you like it or not, every business is a tech business. Tech is an enabler, but tech is an integral part of your business. If you want to be successful, you want to stay relevant, you need to embrace technology. You can't do away by ignoring the evolution of technology. It's part and parcel of you and your neighborhood, your surroundings, the way you. If you just take an example of my organization, right? There are many transformational journeys which we have taken, particularly coming to the current theme of how fast we change, right? And particularly COVID has forced us to think differently. Many of us never thought virtual working is going to happen, though in the tech industry it's easy for us. We moved from physical working to virtual working, and we continue. I think we are the only organization, maybe one of few globally doing virtual first. We are still virtual first organization. How do you ensure the virtual first works for you, right? It's 4 years now since we went virtual in first week of March 2020. Now it's in 2024 May. It's almost 4 years
Yeah.
plus, and we continue to do so. How
That's
we
a
are doing
huge
it?
transformation.
A huge transformation. We continue to do so, and by trusting people. Trust. How you are trusting, and how you are using your tech to match what you are going to achieve. How you are convincing the stakeholders this is the right thing to do, and how do you ensure your HR supports this big change where HR is not visible? And how do you ensure your people who are invisible works globally across India?
And all of this is driven by the leaders of the organization.
It is driven by leaders of the organization.
Yeah.
It is driven by the leaders of the organization, but how you ensure this continues, right? It's 4 years which we did in this organization. 4
Right.
years.
Thank you very much, Madhu. My next question is for you, Gopi. Can you share a specific example of a major transformation you led and the strategies that contributed to its success?
Thank you for that question, and good morning to the entire audience. Very happy to be here to share some insights from my experience. So I want to talk about in my entire career one of the largest transformations that I've done associated with culture, because our theme is associated with talent and tech and trust, right? So if you look at it in the times when I joined the industry, a lot of aspects in terms of employee connect and engagement used to be in the periphery of work, which means you do project get-togethers, parties, all the engagement activities were surrounding to that. Subsequently, it became more creative. You had recognitions, rewards, which was periodic in nature. Then it became consistent, on-the-spot rewards and stuff like that. But as and when the services industry, specifically the IT services industry, started becoming larger, the realization was that there has to be a significantly higher effort in terms of engaging, motivating, and inspiring people in the core of work. This is what will create sustainability of talent in an organization. And led by our CEO at that point of time, we created this concept called zero distance. Zero distance essentially means a very simplistic concept. Zero distance to end user. In the world of technology, how do you create that zero distance to end user? Through code. So zero distance to coding and zero distance to value. And let me explain what this is. If you are able to create a product or a service to a customer where the customer says, wow, that is zero distance to the end user. If you are able to use the right kind of technology and right kind of talent to deliver the technology, it's zero distance to code. And zero distance to value is you can't create something which is so expensive, but the product doesn't give that kind of value in the market, right? So your cost value equation has to be very strong. And all these three things together, we wanted to make sure that it is a culture in the organization. So I'm talking about a company which had more than 250,000 people. So what we did was, typically everyone says innovation does not need a framework, but we had to create a framework where we said that in every project that you do, every statement of work that you have with a customer, think of one idea where you can create additional value to that project, which means you add a new feature into that project. And think of another idea where you can deliver that project faster, which could be automation, tools, and stuff like that. And how do you do it? And we defined a framework saying that you look around within your same customer or beyond that, or even in the markets. For example, someone is building a website, an e-commerce website, and personalization. Look at the best of breed sites that is existing and take ideas from there and suggest to the customer. So The basic tenet of that was essentially trying to identify a problem finding, and then apply the principles of design thinking, desirability, feasibility, and viability,
Very
and
nice.
make it a culture for everyone. So how we went about it, it's 5 critical things. What are the strategies driving to execution? One is it was directly driven by the CEO. The top management was driving it. Evangelized, conceptualized by the top management of the organization. The second aspect of it was how do you communicate this concept to people? So it could be through your internal communication mechanism, mailers, sessions. It was even when the customer visits were happening, we were explaining this concept to them, building prototypes and showing and so on and so forth. Then we identified certain champions who are the first to get onto the bandwagon, and then we showcased that in front of a larger audience to everyone. We made a culture by making sure it is part of all the reviews and audits, and it became a part of the process. So for example, when you're doing a CMM5 audit, there is points for innovation. And the innovation was tracked based on what you're doing through zero distance program. And finally, how do you measure the results of it, right? What is it that you're creating for the customer, and what is the results that is achieving, and taking it back to the customer and driving it. And the biggest change was, imagine a software engineer or a technical lead creating an idea, creating a prototype, and standing in front of the customer, giving an opportunity to showcase that idea, which becomes a reality for a particular
It's
customer.
really good.
Imagine the inspiration that happens to the person. So we changed, we started it as an idea, we started it as an initiative, and at the end of a couple of years, it became a movement. So I think strategy of innovation on change and transformation is about building a culture of change within the organization which inspires people.
Very good. Thank you so much. That was really excellent how you strategized, it was structured, it was scientific, and then you were able to, achieve the outcome and more from your example. Thank you for sharing us. 1 second. Yeah, sure.
Sorry, we can add 30 seconds. It's well articulated. I think the one thing which Chief said in the beginning, right? So
I'll just lose it to you.
collaboration and co-creation, which is critical. And in the virtual world which we are working, how do you collaborate? Technology is enabling to collaborate. Co-create, you work with, you erase the boundaries that traditional software development used to have. Someone gathers the requirements, someone does the design, someone does the coding, and finally it goes after a period of time. Just we kept that aside. Collaborate. You collaborate with where is the problem? The problem is the customer, is the problem with your business stakeholder. Understand, you work collaboratively and do it fast. Co-create the solution, fail fast, so that you are not wasting your energy, your thought process. Finally, you are providing a solution which is quick, fast, and what is required, rather than how brilliant you may be building the technology. Just want to say that collaboration, co-creation is going to be key going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So moving on to the core of our topic, leaders managing change. So we all know that change is inevitable, and as leaders, it is our responsibility to not only adapt to change, but also to lead our teams through it. That's imperative. This requires a mindset shift. It's not just, do it, because you're taking the whole lot with you. So my next question is to you, Rajesh. How do you secure buy-in from all organizational levels during major change initiatives?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to Rethink team for having me here, and thank you for the question. So, taking everybody's buy-in at time of any great change transformation is key to the success. Without that, most of the projects won't succeed. So, a couple of points that come to my mind is one, I think the crystal clear communication. That's very, very important. Why is this transformation being brought in? Why was the need for that transformation? People would want to know, what is the benefit to the organization by bringing that transformation? Is it increasing the revenue? Is it increasing the profit? Or are you having more satisfied, happy customer? Because ultimately, everybody is interested in the purpose, you know. If once you know the purpose, then the meaning comes out of it, you know. So communicating the purpose, communicating the objective of the transformation to the entire organization is, to me, one very important point. Number two, I would say the approach to communication should be top-down, in the sense you bringing your first top-level leaders, have the communication with them, take their buy-in first, then involve your mid-management people. You know, you have to decide how, depending on the size of the organization. Then maybe you can conduct a town hall or a Zoom call, Teams meeting, or whatever that method suits the organization. But everybody should hear from the top leadership why this is being done. So to me, that's another very important point. And third point, I would say, is keep everybody aware of what's happening, what are the timelines, what to expect. You know, maybe appoint a go-to person for any queries anybody have. If we don't do all this, it may lead to a lot of gossips, a lot of rumors going around, maybe some kind of insecurity to some people as to it may impact my job or whatever that is. You know, so as human beings, and especially as employees, probably we don't like surprises, you know. Unless we are throwing a surprise party, probably that's okay.
Yeah.
But not otherwise in a job scenario, we don't like surprises. So keep everybody aware. Yes. So these are three main things that come to my mind.
Thank you, Rajesh. In fact, you spoke a lot about a very key element, which is communication. During any transformation, communication is key because that will determine the success of your transformation. And it involves transparent communication. It involves targeted communication, right? You just can't communicate vaguely to your employees. So, and that's how you will be able to transform throughout the organization. So, yeah.
One point is listening. It is not one-way direction in the transformation. Listen and course correct. If listen and course correct to tactical decision making. That's important
Very
transformation.
important, yeah. Very important.
Otherwise, your transformation is one direction and you don't gain the trust of the employees.
Correct. Thank you, Madhu. So, Alok, my next question is for you. All of us would agree that we have to communicate when there is any change happening, when there is any transition happening. However, we also face resistance to change. So, how do you address and manage resistance to change within your organization when you're going through a transformation?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Namrata, I think it's a brilliant question because I think many of the panel members spoke about the vision and the purpose of change. And I think once that is done and you go out, share, there is resistance. And I believe the resistance is not to change. The resistance is to the loss that might happen because of the change, right?
Right.
The loss to employees or the organization comes in many ways, right? It's loss of status. You could lose your job, or you could, get demoted or moved around in the organization, right? It could be loss of belonging. This is my team. This is my product. This is my manager, and I don't want to move from this, right? Loss comes in many ways, right? It could come in form of, loss of control. This is how I used to do things, my process, my technology, and you're taking it away from me, right? So I think one most important factor is how do we address the loss that employees will go through, right? How do we show them the opportunity in the change? How do we show them the opportunity, but how do we prepare them for the change, right? So it could be through trainings, right? It could be through time boxing the change. Nobody likes continuous and endless changes, right? So how do you time box something? How do you communicate at what point this change is done? Change causes failure, that causes fear. So then again, allowing for that failure in the system, accepting that, along the way we'll have problems, failure is accepted, not trying to, as leaders, we are so fond of numbers, right? All of us try to, here is a change I'm doing, let me measure, right? And measuring too soon in a change scenario can also get detrimental, right? So these are some of the things to sort of make the change process more effective. But one thing that some of the panel members spoke, and I want to elaborate on it, is your next line leadership. If your next line leadership is not aligned to the purpose and the method of change, it will fail, right? I mean, it's a ghar ka bedi, situation. Your next line leaders will sabotage the change, right? So that's something that has to be paid a lot of attention to, is what I believe in. And without that, changes just don't go through.
Thank you, Alok. I think very insightful when you spoke about the loss that people will be experiencing, and that's what they're resisting. So I think it's very well put there. So thank you for sharing that. I have a question for you, Madhu. Basically, adaptability is another very important aspect, because everybody adapts to new things in a very different pace. Some people are doing it very quickly, some people take their own sweet time. We've understood the importance of clear communication, transparent communication, how to address resistance. But for long-term success, fostering a culture that embraces change and innovation, which is basically the adaptability, it is very essential. So how do you think leaders can cultivate that kind of a culture of innovation and adaptability?
See, adaptability and flexibility are part and parcel of how you build the organizational culture. Right? And just to take 30 seconds of what you said about it, why resistance comes in first place. Because in an organization, you have certain ways of doing things, and you are comfortable with that status quo. You never experienced a change because you are doing this way, and this is a clockwork day in, day out. If that is the culture, then bringing transformation. As a leader, you need to start. I'm not saying that change has to happen every day, but why the change is happening? Do you believe as a leader that change is good for our organization? Not for yourself as a leader, you may get extra bonus and all, but why the change is required for the organization to succeed collectively? And are your employees willingly participating in the change? How you are articulating that back is important. Coming to the adaptability, right? If you have that culture you build when you're building the organization, bringing transformation is easy. That's what I firmly believe, because I built this organization in India. I completely believe the culture should come from the day one when you're building the organization. And the way you communicate is critical. And you need to demonstrate that this transformation is beneficial and recognize that who are contributing to it and reward them. And how do you promote innovation? Innovations, without innovation in the current world, you will not be successful and you will be forgotten. Meaning you need to embrace this, and you need to be forefront as a leader, demonstrating that rather than say innovation cannot be mandated, right? You can't tell somebody innovate, it doesn't happen. You need to create a culture of innovation, people to express their views freely without facing any repercussions. The ideas may be good or bad, right? And some ideas may be great coming from bottom, rather than innovation can't come from top. I firmly believe innovation will always come collectively from anybody. The low, if you just take a tech organization,
This is so
from a
true.
developer.
This is so true.
This
Bottom
has
up,
to be
basically.
there. And in our organization, what we did is, when we are working virtually, just before we went virtual, we started an idea of how do we promote innovation. As he rightly said, that you start having a new idea, create a feature, something which you think is right, build that into its continuous improvement. What we said is, we gathered that, we created a portal called Ideas Portal, which is available for everybody in the organization. You log in your ideas based on work which you are doing. We rank those, the business reviews that, pick those ideas, and we created a 2-day pokeathon. When I say pokeathon, POC thon. Proof of concept, and a thon from Friday to Saturday evening, Friday morning to Saturday evening. Complete your idea and provide a POC. It will be evaluated. If this POC is, and we have done many of those during the COVID times, virtually we created a platform for people to connect. It's not people sitting in one office doing this. People across from, I have people from Jammu to Kanyakumari and Bengal to Gujarat. People are working on a platform which we created, and the tech enabled Microsoft Teams to collaborate. The tools like Azure DevOps enabled code collaboration, and we did that continuously during COVID times. I think 40, 50 ideas went into POC, 20 were productionized and added value to the business. This innovation is part and parcel of a tech organization. You can't rest on laurels. We did that and then moved on to the next one. We need to adopt the technology that is available. Now we are embracing generative AI. How you are embracing generative AI? And GitHub Copilot, which is there, which means many developers feel that their jobs are at stake, right? It's not
So
your
they
jobs
have
are at
adapted.
stake.
So they
You
you've
need to
innovated and you've
adapt.
adapted.
You need to adapt and see how efficient you are. You can't be comfortable in what you are doing last 6 months. You need to start
Absolutely. That's
doing it
correct.
forward, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
And adapt. And that's a culture you need to create. Adapt, you can't force people to adapt or change. You need to create that atmosphere as a leader, and you need to exhibit that behaviors.
Correct. Thank you. So, as leaders and for all the leaders in the room, you may put together the best of plans, okay, when you're going through a change. However, I'm sure every one of us would have encountered some obstacles along the way. It's not obstacle free. And, being able to navigate through all these challenges as a leader and taking your team along with you is even more so important, because you have to be able to identify what are those obstacles and, front end those and, to be able to face those. So coming to you, Gopi, can you share some of the biggest obstacles you've encountered as a leader during times of transformation, and how did you overcome them?
Thank you. So I will give three of my experiences as different roles in my career, and some of you probably here would not have been even born maybe in the when the first .com boom and the bust happened, early days of 2000 2001. I think the entire IT industry, services industry, probably this was the first downturn or recession that happened in the services industry. It was a big obstacle and a challenge. I used to work for a company, a .com company, building their website, and it was about you can go in and try your shirt and trousers and all those stuff. Unfortunately, the graphics were not good. In fact, Madhu was talking about collaboration. The graphics were not good enough. The collaboration with the logistic was not good enough. With the financials was not good enough. So finally, people did not get what they ordered. Neither, the company did not get the payments in the right time and stuff like that. And end result was a concept which was way ahead of time, failed because the technology was not ready for it. But most of the organizations during those time at least had, while they took a temporary setback, and I was a project manager at that time, we were all equipped to learn newer things. So the biggest thing that I have realized is every time you should look forward to ambiguity coming into your business, and you should prepare yourself for the future. One of the things that every one of us built was skills in terms of the new generation things that were coming at that time, which was the ERPs and the supply chains of the world. And when a very creative, innovative business idea failed, people went back into being more conservative, more stable, more steady business possibilities. And a lot of expansion in the industry happened post that because of people adopting to SAPs and Oracles and the supply chain products of the world. But we were equipped during that because we were trained and enabled. So one of the biggest lessons is continuous knowledge enhancement of your people and your talent to prepare for the future. The second challenge that I faced in the industry, and every industry faced, is a worldwide recession which happened in 2007, 2008, which was a financial meltdown, and pretty much everyone got impacted by it. And that led to the advent of something different. That was the first time. Till then, I think technology was a lag for business processes. In the sense, there's a business and technology was used to support that business. This was the first time, and most of you would have been aware when all the technologies came together, which is the social, mobile, Internet of Things, the commerce, the visualization, cloud, and analytics. All of them came together, and people started creating newer business models powered by technology. That was the bigger transition that happened, and the ability for companies and organizations to help their customers in adapting to the digitally native organizations, right? The organizations to move and compete with digitally native organizations required someone to contextualize your knowledge into real-time situation. A technology that you have today can be used in 10 different ways. How do you use a technology in the right way? And that is the second learning. Knowledge is important. Contextualizing the knowledge becomes much more critical. I think in a post-COVID era and the transformation that we are going to see, again, is a confluence of multiple technologies. While everyone speaks about Gen AI, I think Gen AI is not going to be standalone. What's going to happen in the future is a combination and confluence of technologies, which means you're going to have 5G, 6G, 7G, low latency, zero latency networks. You're going to have everything on a sensor. Now you walk into an immigration or an airport, you will walk through your face, right? Face recognitions. Your data will be collected in factories with your biometrics. Your machines will be all sensor based, right? I can operate my washing machine sitting here, right? So the sensor based technologies explosion, semiconductor, autonomous vehicles, and of course the power of data and capturing that data and creating Gen AI. I think that is the biggest change that is going to happen. But to embrace that change, what is important is for organizations and people, along with knowledge and contextualization of knowledge, needs to put yourself in the shoes of the customer, which means your zero distance to end user, what I spoke about, and have empathy in terms of implementing it. In my belief, all these three becomes important in the future, which means knowledge increases the confidence of an organization. Contextualizing knowledge increases the respect for an organization, because your conversations here can become richer when you can contextualize your knowledge, and implementing it with empathy makes you a leader at large. So in my belief, all these things are very important as we go into the future, which is definitely going to be technology driven.
Thank you. That is really, really insightful. So, keeping our employees engaged through this whole transformation is so critical, right? There are two things. There's change management and there's transition management. Now you may ask me what's the difference between that. Change is the day it is announced. If you want to change something and an organization sends out this announcement that effective so and so date this will change. That's the change thing that's happened. But how well have people accepted that new and let go of the old? So it's all about endings and beginnings. Something has to end.
I have an interesting analogy for that.
Yeah.
It's a music related analogy, because you said the old and the new, right?
Endings and beginnings, basically.
Yeah. So essentially someone told me that this is music parlance. The older traditional organizations are like the Western orchestra, wherein there is a music conductor and who's the CEO, and then everyone plays to that music conductor, right? And if the music conductor goes wrong, things can go wrong completely, right?
Yeah.
But the futuristic organizations are more adaptable, more collaborative, more communicative within your businesses and others. So it is more like the jazz band. Your ability to collaborate, your ability to connect, your ability to make changes based on situations becomes very important. Yeah. So when you do talk about change, I think the organization change has to move from a Western orchestra to a jazz band.
Yeah, thank you. That's a nice analogy. So, Rajesh, my question is to you as a leader. How do you keep employee engagement and morale high during periods of significant change?
Thank you for that question. I think one thing that's very important is to make everybody feel secure about what's happening. Somebody spoke about change that brings fear. So give them the security that, and earlier we spoke about clear communication to what's going to happen. And through the transformation, is it going to impact somebody's job, or will somebody require a new kind of skill or training, upskilling, reskilling to do that job, provide the required training. And when you are making them secure, don't make any false promise, we walk the talk.
Transparent communication,
Yeah,
what we touched upon.
I mean, and because people are watching, because people are in any big transformation, everybody would have their own fear about job change, skill change, requirement change, whatever it is. So, if we can keep them secure that come what, we'll take care of you. Things will happen, and those periodic communications. I'll just share a quick example, which COVID was a big change. We can all relate to that change. And as people five, we were a purely desktop, except for some leaders. We were purely a desktop-based company, working all the days from office, fully work from office. And we saw this COVID thing coming through our own, insights or research. And much before the lockdown was announced, some 15 days before, we set up the entire company, transformed. We had our internal software. We moved that software to cloud. And overnight, we bought more than 200 laptops. If there was a shortage of laptops at that time, you can blame people for that. So, and within a weekend, we transformed from a fully desktop, fully work from home to fully virtual, fully work from home kind of company.
Yes.
And during that period, there was a lot of uncertainty. So we had a very regular communication with the people. And also the work-wise, suddenly everybody was afraid. The clients kind of paused on some of the projects. But we told people that don't worry, just relax, you are at home, read up on something, nothing will happen. And within a couple of months, the things started picking up again.
Yeah.
So I think you need to keep that security in their mind and make the promises only that you can keep up.
That'll keep them engaged.
Yeah, and like I said, walk the talk. Don't say something and do something else.
Correct.
Yeah, these are a few things that
Thank you.
come to my mind.
Yeah, thank you. So, we're coming to the fag end of our session, and we're talking about the future of leadership. The future of leadership undoubtedly is going to change. The landscape on that front is going to change. So, Alok, my question for you. What advice would you give the emerging leaders who will be guiding the next wave of transformations?
That question does make me feel old, but nevertheless. So I read this quotation, the pace of change has never been this fast, and the pace of change will never be this slow ever again, right? And that's why this is such a relevant topic for us to talk. And I think this is the crux, right? The emerging leaders will need to deal with a lot more wars that were not expected, supply chains breaking down, disruptive technology happening, companies getting hacked and whatnot, right? So I think taking a cue from that, I would say there are two things, right? One, how does the leader lead himself or herself through change, right? How do they spot opportunities? How do they, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, so infinity mindset, right? Like, how do you develop a growth mindset where you find opportunities and transform yourself to adapt to change, right? That's one. The second is, how do you take people along with you, right? End of the day, the change is hard, or any change is hard because it's about people, right? Buying technology or getting process consultants is relatively easy. Changing people is much harder, right? And so how do you gain alignment? How do you get people to rally behind the change? And so your first question was actually, what is effective leadership, right? In times of change. And I would say you don't have to drag people through the change. That's effective leadership, right? So those skills will become very important as to how do you gain alignment and how do you take people along. So yeah, one, how do you change yourself? And then two, how do you take people along?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
One of my favorite analogy I'll just try to use over here. We see some patterns on the carpet over here. It's like river moving, right? So river will change the course. Then when it changing the course, then it will cut away some of the land, but it will leave away another fertile piece of land. So if we can communicate to people that this change is only maybe it will change something here, but bring some other opportunity there. That may be another way to communicate that sense.
It's a bend, not the end.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
they
it's
say.
the bend, not the end, right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And I think in the current transformational happenings around the tech, I think one thing the leader should
Just hold this.
the leader should be nimble-footed and thinking on his feet on a regular basis, and don't sugarcoat any bad news. You need to be very clear in sharing the bad news upfront. You will see the reaction. If you just look at what's happening around, you say it's going, it's happening as we speak. Look at the companies taking decisions which are not popular. I mean, you need to take the decisions to stay relevant, which means don't sugarcoat what you are doing as a leader. Employees trust you when you say things upfront rather than sugarcoat and they feel something else. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone. I mean, it has been really, really insightful hearing all of you all and the examples that you have shared and your insights, of course. We are running out of time for this session, so I'm sorry we will not be able to take any questions from the audience at this point. However, you will be able to have the opportunity to meet up with our panel members during the break, and you can approach them with your questions. I would like to just wrap quickly in terms of the discussion points. And so effective leadership during times of significant transformation involves, and these are the key takeaways: inspiring and motivating others towards a common goal, demonstrating strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and a willingness to embrace change as an opportunity for growth and innovation. Clear, transparent communication, I think that has been emphasized by each one of you. Fostering a culture of change, innovation, and adaptability, which are essential for long-term success. And leaders navigating challenges, overcoming obstacles, and supporting employees through the transition process. Of course, a lot more has been said, but I'm sure you all would have captured those notes. Thank you very much for this session, and I hope you all have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.